Greetings, greetings, greetings. We are so excited to have you with us today. You are in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. We are fortunate today to have a very special guest, saxophonist Ryan Kilgore. Ryan, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Berry. Pleasure to be here.
Take us back to your childhood. What was it like growing up?
The oldest of six, so definitely the household was always, eventful.
Sure.
Come from a very musical family. The fourth generation sax player in my family.
Wow.
So my grandfather was a pastor, so I have bishops and apostles and all kinds of different people. So of course we were in church.
Sure. If you don't mind, can you share with us maybe a childhood experience that you had that really has positively impacted you even to today?
When I first joined the band, usually they kind of promote for you to go and rent an instrument.
Sure.
And my mom started renting the instrument, but it became too cumbersome and, a little bit too much financially. And so my grandfather standing on the side was kind of watching the whole situation happen. And he went out and surprised me and purchased a brand new saxophone.
Wow.
For me. And it just took the pressure off of my mom. It took the pressure off of me. And then it was like, man, I have something that belongs to me that no one else can really say that it's not mine.
What would you say to that child that's kind of betwixt and between, or even to that parent that is really hesitant about fueling that passion because they've seen a more traditional career path?
Three words I would initially say, and that's person, passion, purpose.
Wow.
So every person has a passion. Every passion has a purpose, and every purpose has a person. So when you allow your child or you allow a person to find out what their passion is, it usually 9 times out of 10 is going to lead them to their purpose.
Sure.
And once they start operating in their purpose, their job really is to use their passion to touch a person.
Wow.
So when you do that, then every place you go, you're playing my horn, I'm playing in front of millions, thousands, 2, 3, 5, doesn't matter. My job then is to use my passion, my purpose, my music to touch that person. And so that's what I would say, person, passion, purpose.
When you look at your own journey, what were the steps that you took that helped you get to the place where you were able to professionally be a full-time musician?
Well, the first thing I had to realize was that my gift had a GPS system already built in it.
Okay.
And so, when you use your passion, it'll take you where you're supposed to be. It was one of those things where, growing up in church, you talk about faith. Walk by faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for.
Right.
All these different things. And I saw a lot of people that had a lot of faith, but I never really saw them actually using it. And so it's almost like you having a Lamborghini and you get the retirement check, you get the Lamborghini, but it's stuck in the garage.
Sure.
And so when I turned 14, I was blessed to be at Chapel Hill Middle School, getting ready to transition into Southwest DeKalb. And a group of musicians from the band actually came over to me and said, hey, man, we have a group in school, and we would love to invite you to be a part of that.
Wow.
And Mr. Simmons, one of the piano player in the group, his dad, Mr. Simmons, was very instrumental in explaining and teaching the business, kind of saying, hey, man, you could be self-sufficient. You don't have to wait until you're 30. You don't have to wait until you're 40. So I learned very early on, about making money, about being self-sufficient. And that kind of took me in a place where I knew I could perform.
Sure.
So from a performing standpoint, now I know I can do weddings, I can play at church, I could play at a bar mitzvah, I could play at a party, and it's like, oh man, okay, music is so much more than just, being in the band room.
Sure.
So by the time I got to Clark Atlanta University, 20th Century Fox is now on campus filming Drumline.
Wow.
And so then you realize, oh, wow, okay, music can really, really open my world up to so much more. And then you get to that point where you make a decision and say, okay, well, do I want to teach? Do I want to perform? Where do I really want to go?
Sure.
And my passion had primarily been from performing. And so I joined a group called Soul Factor here in Atlanta.
Soul Factor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one day we were at Sambuca Jazz Cafe, and Tyler Perry was sitting in the audience. And from that performance, he hired the band. And so we ended up doing a year and a half with the marriage counselor through that. So I've always had those type of moments where, if I hadn't been playing, I wouldn't have had that opportunity.
Sure.
So really, the journey starts with what the passion is.
People love to hear, well, who has he performed with? Who has he been around? So, Ryan, if you don't mind, can you do a little name dropping today? Who have you performed with?
I performed with Tyler Perry. I performed with Dave Chappelle, with Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, B.B. King, Jeff Beck, Sting, Indy.Arie, John Legend, Q-Tip, Big Crit. A lot of different people from a lot of different eras. Mike Phillips, Najee, Kirk Whalum.
Sure.
Just a lot of different people been blessed you know, like.
So Ryan, do you ever have moments where you sit back and just, maybe laying in the bed and just think about the fact that, wow, God has allowed you to see things that you probably never would have imagined? Do you have those moments?
I do have those moments. A more recent moment was my grandmother passed about 2 years ago, and she left a note.
Okay.
And she said that basically in that note that God had given me the gift of travel, and that don't ever forget that. And it was one of those things where it's like, you know what, really, like, wow, like I really have had a chance to kind of see the world. And you say that, you speak it into the atmosphere, and you say, hey, I'm going to travel the world. But then when you start really looking back, and I had to change, I had to get a new passport. But I flipped through my old passport, and it's like, man, I had to add 52 pages to my first passport.
Wow.
And that's insane because it already comes with 26, pages in there. So it was between those two moments where I realized, like, man, God has really blessed me, to travel the world and see everywhere, really.
Do you mind kind of sharing with us what you're doing through your charitable organization?
Yes. So I started the Kilgore Music Foundation in memory of my grandfather from that purchase of that first horn.
Sure.
And over the years, just kind of reminiscing, people would come to me after shows, after performances, and say, hey, man, I used to play the sax. I used to play the drums. I used to play the trombone. And I'm like, man, what are these instruments? Where are they?
Sure.
And of course, you walk into pawn shops or, whatever, or you might be at somebody's house and you see a trumpet sitting over in the corner in the garage, and you're like, I wonder how many instruments are sitting, just kind of laying around, collecting dust. And so we had the idea of just basically creating instrument drives. It's not something that's never been done before, but it's just, my effort and my, vision to say, hey, man, let's do this to kind of help some different people that can't afford an instrument. Or maybe somebody that's been afraid because they know their financial situation. They've been afraid to ask their mom and say, hey, I would love to learn how to play the saxophone.
Sure.
So we started a 2018 instrument drive, April 24th. We're going to go pretty much throughout the summer.
Sure.
And to benefit two programs here in the city. One is Chapel Hill Middle School, where I went to school.
Sure.
And the Pittman Recreational Center. And this is an opportunity for us to give back. So they can visit the website, KilgoreMusicFoundation.com. There are drop-off spots, and right now at 3 DeKalb County libraries. Also, Crush House Entertainment is another location. And just we love looking for different scenarios where people, could potentially be kicked out of the band, and we want to be like that, save. Like, hey, call Superman, call Batman.
Sure.
And, to come in and say, hey, here's an instrument for this kid, and he can stay in school. And maybe they're the next generation of musicians that we can say, oh, man, that's Stevie Wonder, that's Ryan Kilgore, that's, whoever. So.
Have you had any Valley experiences?
Oh, yeah.
Do you mind just sharing just one and how you made it through and that might inspire somebody today?
Yeah. Well, back in 2004, my grandfather was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Sure.
We're having this conversation, but I had never seen him, pretty much go from being pretty much my size to almost 90 pounds. And he was asking me how my music was going. And I was like, well, Granddad, it's rough out here, man. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know how do I get seen, And I think he heard the discouragement. I think he heard the kind of backpedaling started to backpedal a little bit. And to see his energy, it was like God was like giving me a spiritual eye to see his energy be pulled from his feet, to sit himself in the bed and look me stern in the eye and say, I don't care what happens to me. I don't care what happens to your life. I don't care what's going on. Don't you ever stop playing.
Powerful. So Ryan, the show would be incomplete if we did not give you an opportunity to bless our viewers with just a little taste. And so Ryan, we know that these tickets probably cost $50, $60 a piece, but can you give the viewers just a little taste of what it's like to listen to the smooth tunes of Ryan Kilgore?
Oh, man. Well, appreciate it again, the opportunity. The name of this song is actually off of my last record called Just Walk. And the name of the song is called Can You Imagine? So the question is, can you imagine him giving you something you can't imagine? Sound is a living organism traveling. And it's simply to say, hey, don't walk around with mustard seed faith. Use the universe as your starting point of having faith and watch God blow your mind.
Wow.
Can you imagine him giving you something you can't imagine?
Can't imagine. I told you were in for a treat today. We pray that this has been inspiring, motivating, and I would encourage some young person, pick up an instrument. If you don't have one, get in contact with Ryan Kilgore, and I promise you that he'll help resource you with it. Again, thank you for joining us for Up Close with Dr. Berry.